I see you, you creep.
The guys over at Murder Sheet had a very interesting podcast again this week. Tony is a creep. They confirmed also they are liaising with LE before they release any of these details. There are some things that they've been asked to hold back on. More reason, I believe, to think that LE are priming the jury, something I talked about in the last Delphi video. But they did get to go ahead for this. They talked about how they were told by multiple people that Tony had a reputation in high school for being a bit of a peeping Tom. On one occasion, he was watching a girl sleep from outside her bedroom window. Not only that, he used a stick through the window to push up her skirt. Again, we're seeing Tony's behaviours escalate, and another example of him degrading a young girl. And as the guys correctly pointed out, voyeurism and peeping toms are predators. These are the people who go on to commit sexual crimes. We know this because a large percentage of criminals who committed SA, this is what they've done. This was the escalation path. We've seen a little bit of this already from the Anthony Shots profile. We know a girl that texted her address to that profile, came back home from school to find a man standing outside her kitchen window in a ski mask. That address Kegan would know, Tony wouldn't. And they also had an interview with a girl that was in high school with Tony. They called her Erin, nice girl's name. She was a member of the Baton group. Sounds like a cheerleading group, I think they're not around anymore. I'm not sure what the difference is. But Tony Kline's sister was also a member of that group. But she was 2 years older than Tony, so she didn't really know Erin. Her aunts, though, did know Tony's sister. So when they were going away on these Baton groups away from home, the families would sometimes travel together. Tony wouldn't be there, he'd be at home. So she didn't really know him. But her best friend also lived directly behind his house. So she'd be passing the house, she might be outside with the friend. So she'd know of him, but she was never introduced to him, never met him. She just knew the family. Her best friend was living behind his house. She said he was popular in school, but she didn't really have an opinion of him either way before the incident I'm about to tell you about. She just had a very neutral opinion of him. So she was a freshman in high school, he was a senior. She was also a cheerleader in high school, and she was wearing her outfit one day walking home from school. And I'm going to play a clip here. This is her telling the story herself. I do have this clipped up a small bit. Go check out after this the full podcast. It's not up on YouTube yet. It will be after a few days though, but I'll link it all down below when it does.
On this particular day, I kind of just got this weird feeling that, someone was following me. And so basically I turned around and I did see this guy a couple blocks back. And I didn't think a whole lot of it. It just was, again, just being aware that there was someone there. And then I just kind of kept walking. So as I was approaching my neighborhood, I looked up ahead and I happened to see this movement behind some shrubs and bushes across the street from my house. And when I took a closer look, I realized that it was the same individual that was following, that was behind me a few blocks earlier. And so it was really odd. It really, it kind of, immediately creeped me out, and I immediately dodged and went across the street, because had I kept walking, I would have been walking right by those bushes. But I went ahead and as I approached the alley, I went ahead and cut across to my side of the street and kept my eye on that area without trying to, I guess, bring too much light to it until I got to my house, because it was super creepy. And as the person saw me see him, which turned out to be Tony, I knew exactly who it was as I got closer to him, because I knew of him and what he looked like. He ducked down even further and kind of hid behind he kind of moved as I moved to keep hidden behind the bushes and the tree that was there. And as I got on the porch, I remember just, I'm at home, I'm safe, my mom was inside. And so I kind of hollered across the street basically and said, I see you. You creep, and called his name out and said, you better go, or I'm going to tell my parents and they're going to call the police. And he ended up quickly he bolted and took off, and I don't even remember which direction. He just was gone. But it was just super, it was just really unbelievable. I was like, why was he over here? What was he doing? Again, I hadn't really had any moments where we were ever in an area that we were like, hi, I'm introducing myself and what's your name? We hadn't had any time that we had ever spoke or talked. So I was like, other than the baton situation and living near my best friend, he might have known who we were, I guess, just because he could have been, at the contest or, in the neighborhood when we would practice outside sometimes. But like, definitely, how did he know where I lived? You know, we weren't friends. We didn't hang in the same circles. And it was just super creepy.
This is a senior high school student following a young freshman girl. She also said her husband, who was older than her, was talking about him when he was in school, and he said he got caught creeping in the windows. Everyone knows about it. All the lads knew he was a peeping Tom. They actually thought he got in trouble for it once, and the charges were dropped for some reason. They're not sure why. They were young, but it was well known that Tony was a peeping Tom in high school. Well known. She said when she first heard about Kegan and the stuff that came out, and she heard the surname, she was like, oh, I wonder if he related to Tony, because Tony was a bit of a creep. And she was shocked to find out that it was a son. But upon reflection, she was like, oh, that makes sense, because the whole sexual component of it. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. This is a clip of her talking about that.
I was like, oh, Kline, I wonder if he's related to Tony. And then finding out that it was his dad, I was like, oh my gosh. That kind of, to me, kind of makes sense, because Tony was a super creeper. Like, hearing all of these things about the peeping Tom and the incident that happened with me, I was like, wow. Yeah, it was definitely, I wasn't necessarily shocked, I guess, of the incident with his son. Like, thinking of those kind of sexual stuff, it didn't surprise me.
She said the second sketch looks like him to her. He aged well, apparently. He doesn't look that much older than he was in high school. That's the picture that I have in the thumbnail. That's that sketch next to Tony's face. And she seems very honest, because she was asked also about BG and does she think it's Tony? And she's like, no, I can't remember what he walked like, or his weight gain, or anything like that. And the same with the Down the Hill clip. She doesn't even pretend to remember what his voice was like. She doesn't know. She doesn't recall. But she does recall him being a peeping Tom and creeping on her. And peeping in windows of other girls and putting in sticks, lifting up their skirt. She remembers that. A lot of people remember that. And overall, she does seem very, very credible. I believe that story. I believe that happened. She remembers it. Her family remembers it. They all remember it happening. It was Tony creeping on her, stalking on her. Another girl, another young girl. So that's it. That's Tony. That's Tony the creep. We need to update our Tony Kline doc. I will link that doc down below, but I didn't get a chance to update any of this stuff in it yet. And I also, in the next video, want to talk about Tony and stomachs and the connection there. Because a lot of people have been asking me in past videos. I just kind of touch on it when we touch over something related to stomachs, but I just want to put that piece together. I might just wait actually till I have that video done on the stomachs and bellies before I update that doc. I have a feeling that document is going to be very long by the time we're done with this. There seems to be a lot of people coming out of the woodwork talking about Tony, telling us stories. A lot of things linking together and making sense. I can't wait till the day when we can say today is the day. Good luck, God bless, have a good day.